we started talking about umbrella on Shabbat. So let's wrap it up. What happened?
Rabbi, teacher, I thought you was how do you get?
Yeah, we spoke about the umbrella and about the fact that people forget it and lose it, and that's why when the question came to halacha, it wasn't that important to the rabbis. It's like people didn't go, let's say, crazy for using umbrellas on Shabbat. Also, the circumstances in Europe, in most places, you lived in cold weather, and if it was pouring rain, you couldn't go out anyway. And if you had to go, the synagogue was nearby. We live we live all over the world, and you live in tropical weather. We have 3 hours of rain every day, hot weather. I mean, even in upstate, in New Jersey, New York, in the summer you have 100 degrees, pouring rain. You need to walk half an hour to the synagogue. You put this coat that doesn't breathe, and by the time you get to the synagogue, you're half dead. So the question is this: what is the Torah want you to do? So. First mentioned by Rabbi Hezkel Landa of Prague about 300 years ago in the rabbi-ovadia, and he says that one cannot use the what he called the parasol, like a parasol, because originally people just used it to protect themselves from the sun, not from the rain, until they were able to find fabric that would be able to withstand. And he says. He says it should have been allowed because krasim velulaot hakvuim bo she'al adam niftach v'nizgar haya dinam kemo tzir. He says it seems like it should be allowed because just like you have in the doors, you have access that you could do. So just like the doors or shutters that have hinges and you open and close, and as a matter of fact, like when you open the table on Shabbat, you have collapsible parts, and you could put them back and forth. Again, shouldn't be a problem. But he says, "En anidon domeh misham amrina sheze kmo delet ki'ikar habayit." He says, with the door is connected to the house, so it's not self-standing. But he says the rabbi-ovadia decides that you cannot open it on Shabbat because it's construction. And it's very difficult to say that it's construction, even by analogy, because this is something that is done in the way of opening and closing. So it never remains in the same status. Also, he said that one should not carry it over his head because it's like ohel. It's building a tent, and you carry it over your head, and. The conclusion of the Haim Ovadia, I'm not going to go into all of his discussion. He says, even if you open it before Shabbat, don't carry it on Shabbat because people will think that you open it on Shabbat. He says, "Bifrat bador yatom hazeh shenefishin enan bnei Torah." He says, in our orphan generation, most people are not knowledgeable. This is 300 years ago. Nostalgically, people say always in Europe. At the time of the rabbi-ovadia, like you lived, everybody knew the halacha, everybody practiced, never complained, right? And people did. People carry the umbrellas with them everywhere. The Hatam Sofer, Rabbi Moshe Sofer of Pressburg, about 100 years later, it was very strict in all of his halachot. He coined the phrase "Hadash asur min Torah." I mean, it's not his phrase, but he paraphrased it. Originally, Hadash asur min Torah refers to the new wheat that comes after Pesach. But he interpreted it as any new concept, new technology, new idea is forbidden biblically. So if you want to move let's say the teva in the synagogue a little bit to the right or to the left, forbidden. You want to make your wear a shorter coat instead of the long coat that the Haredi Jews used to wear in Europe, forbidden. So usually was very strict with those things.
The question to say no. What is the reason?
So no, I would say no? I would ask not what it. No. So the reason is that they were afraid of the Enlightenment, the Reform movement, the Haskalah. They were afraid that if you allow changes, people will be swept away. But the other question is, what is the result? The result is that people not only were swept away, but said we're not interested in orthodoxy at all. They cut themselves off because they said, you just say no, no, no. And there's nothing that I could do. I cannot enjoy my life.
What is the better solution?
Better solution is...
people because it's too ridiculous.
Right. So
or to be lenient a little bit.
Right. So the answer is that to be lenient is not to be lenient. To be lenient is to be understanding and to actually be strict. And that was the attitude of most of Sephardic rabbis, which is now lost. Maybe now we start to regain it. And the idea was, we have to find ways for people to live their life as comfortably as possible and not demand sacrifices from them when it's not necessary. If it's necessary, it's necessary.
When you know they are not going to follow.
Right, and if you could find. Remember that the Teshuvah we discussed maybe last year by Rabbi Sachar Asaraf of Morocco. He came to Israel in the 1880s. One of the first olim who came and lived in Tiberia. And at that time he was asked by people from the Moroccan Jews who went to Para in Brazil for the caoutchouc industry. There were many Moroccan Jews in the Amazonas, and they asked him what to do about kosher meat. And the rabbi said, they asked by correspondence. He wrote back to them. He knew that if he tells them that you cannot eat anything, they will end up eating non-kosher. So he told them by correspondence, he says, hold the knife this way, make sure it's sharp. One person will do the shehita, the other person will supervise him. That's it. He find a solution for them. So the same thing with the umbrella. So there are many different opinions that find all kind of arguments to say that the umbrella is forbidden. And like I mentioned before, when we discussed electricity, when you have too many arguments trying to explain why something is forbidden, it
shouldn't be.
Right, exactly. It means that it shouldn't be because you're trying to argue why it's forbidden. If it was clear, all you need is one reason, one argument. You don't have to pile up. And each one rejects the argument of the other, but says. So one of the reasons that the whole idea of building is not, or construction doesn't apply, that's the Hatam Sofer says. It actually in this case is lenient. He says it's asui l'sha'ah. It's temporary. The other thing he says, to call it a tent, you're not allowed to build a tent on Shabbat, but it says a tent is self-standing. A tent is not something that you hold above your head. You hold it it's called ohel zaruk, or ohel mobile tent. This is not called a tent. And as a matter of fact, there's a minhag among Sephardic Jews to open, which Ashkenazim would not do, to open the chuppah on Shabbat. I first saw it in a Libyan synagogue in Israel many years ago, and back then I was young, hot-headed, and I right away I rebuked the Kabbalah. You can't do it; it's forbidden. Shabbat. He says that's our minhag. And years later, I can't apologize to him anymore. He passed away, but I found out that this is really the minhag, and there is a basis to do that because you hold the poles, and they're not stuck in the ground. So it's the same thing as an umbrella. And he says, "Al ken karov lomar she'afilu midarabanan sharei." He says there's no prohibition whether biblical or rabbinical. ואם כן, לכל הפחות מותר לפותחם על ידי גוי. ואין להרעיש העולם בשביל זה. He says, at least let people open it, let a goy open it for you, let a non-Jew open it for you. Don't make such a big deal of it. Now, but not everybody followed it, because some people, we have this, there's a story about Rabbi Eliezer Moshe Horowitz, who lived in Europe about 150 years ago, whose daughters used to go on Shabbat with an umbrella. Now, he lived in was born in 1817, passed away 1890. So this Rabbi Horowitz, his daughters used to go out on Shabbat with an umbrella, and he went to shul, stopped the prayers on Shabbat, and made this announcement. He says, if anyone sees my daughter, he had two daughters, go with an umbrella on Shabbat, you should know that they're nuts. They lost their mind, they're not they're unstable, so don't learn from them. Now, were they unstable? What do you think? No. Probably not. Probably not. Certainly not, because they married great scholars, and one of them was the the wife of Rabbi Yehiel Michal Levi Epstein, who wrote the Aruch HaShulchan. So really great scholars. So what really happened was the daughters were opinionated, and they decided that it's okay to they said it's okay to use it on Shabbat. But the rabbi, their father, didn't agree with them. Same thing we have with another great rabbi, Rabbi Israel Lipschitz of Germany, who wrote the commentary on the Mishnayot, Tiferet Israel. He has a whole discussion in his book Kalkalat Shabbat. He actually uses, when you look at the books, each one uses the local term. So they use umbrella, they use parasol, they use the word shamsiya, which is in Arabic shimshiya, and Rabbi Israel Lipschitz calls it Regenschirm in German, Regenschirm, and his conclusion is Regen is rain, Schirm is a protector or something, and he says Yesh le'atiro ve'afilu shevut d'shevut lahave. He says there's no reason to make it forbidden, even rabbinical, and he says mishum peseda ve'tza'ara uchvod habriot. He says because of suffering, you're not supposed to suffer. You suffer from rain, or from like I said, it's a hot weather and raining. You also suffer from the heat. Kvod habriot. If you come to the synagogue with your half your clothes or all of you drenched, it's disrespectful. It says ואין לומר לאסור משום חשדה שיחשדו שהוא מתחו ופתחו בשבת. He said, but at least let us have a non-Jew open it for you. But it's not very simple, right? Wherever you go, okay, have someone open it when you leave the house. Have someone. So now let's go to the Teshuvah of Rabbi Yosef Mishash, and he says this. This is Haim Ovadia, his Sefer Teshuvot. He says, שאלת ידידי על המחסה הנקרא בלשון ערב הדלילה. You know the word from umbrella in Arabic? Dilayla? No? Okay, Dilayla. ובלשון צרפת parapluie. Parapluie? Right, okay, so that's French. So we have Arabic, French, all the Italian, everything. He says, אם מותר לשבת... So הוא שואל, אם מותר בשבת... אם מותר בשבת לפותחו, להסתופף בצילו בחמה מפני החמה ובצינה מפני המטר ולסגרו אחר כך. He wants to know if you could open it to protect yourself from sun or from rain. ואמרת כי ראית רבים שלמים בתורה וביראה נוהגים בו יותר שלא כרצונך וכרצון כל יראי אלוהים. The person who has the question, Rabbi Moshe Halevi, lived in Algiers, and he said, I'm not happy that people use it on Shabbat. So in every discussion of the umbrella, by the way, you see the rabbis say that Orthodox people use it, and we're not happy with it. So it's like the intuitive understanding of the people is it's okay, and the intuitive reaction of the rabbis, it's not okay. So Rabbi Mishash goes through the whole discussion. He quotes the Hatam Sofer, the Noda B'Yehuda, the Otzar Israel, Tiferet Israel, all the books that I mentioned. And then he says this, Sov Davar, עניין זה תלוי בפלוגתא דאשלי רב רבי. This depends on a dispute between major scholars, ואין בנו כוח להכריע להורות בו יותר בפשיטות, אף שהדעת מסכמת שהוא יותר גמור. Even though it's clearly okay, I don't want to say, I do not want to say it like sweepingly that it's okay. וכל העם מקצה נהגו בו היתר גמור לפותחו ולסוגרו כמעשהו בכל ממש. It says in practice everybody does that. It's interesting because today they don't do that, right? In Orthodox communities you can't go with if you go with an umbrella, they're no, they wouldn't, not about carrying it. They're concerned about opening and closing it. If like I said yesterday, if they're nice to you, they wouldn't say anything. If they're a little more aggressive, they would come and say, "Sir, we don't do this here. Make sure you don't bring it next time." And a little more aggressive, they will throw stones at you.
So carrying it is not the issue.
Carrying is not the issue because, first of all, here we have Eruv, and Rabbi Meshash says also that in cases of emergency, when you need it, so whether it's an umbrella on Shabbat or it's icy outside and you need a cane or something like that, you could use it. And he says, "En limchot be'adam klal, afilu ba'akimat sefatayim." He says, if someone comes with an umbrella, don't rebuke him, not even with a facial expression. Don't go like, nothing. Just welcome them. This is what you asked before. This is the attitude. Welcome him. But it says more than that. God-fearing person, if you could, no, you could suffer a little bit and not use the umbrella. But אם בית הכנסת רחוק והגשם יורד בגבורה ואם ימתין עד שיפסוק יעבור זמן התפילה. It's like nice Hebrew, right? It says if the synagogue is far away and it's pouring rain, and if you wait until the rain stops, you will miss the tefillah. ואם ילך ירדבו בגדיו במים ויכול לבוא לידי סחיטה ולנער מעילו, and if he goes, he's going to get drenched, he might end up squeezing his clothes or not feeling comfortable. בזה נראה פשוט שמותר לפתוח מחסהו להסתופף בצילו. זהו נראה לקוצר דעתי בזה. It says this is obvious. You could open the umbrella, open and close on Shabbat, enjoy the protection that it gives you. So basically it's your decision. It says it doesn't want to make it, use it whenever you want, however you want, but if you need it, there's no problem. That is conclusion. Amen.